From Fox 8 Sports, this is the Overtime Podcast.
From the Gulf Coast studios in New Orleans, this is the Fox 8 Overtime Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Fazende, riding shotgun as he does each and every podcast. Is Andre Johnson.
Junior.
Do not forget the Junior. Very important. Remember the JR at the end of the name. Before we get into today's content, be sure to like, to share, to rate, to review. If you are watching us on YouTube, do us a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Get the bell notification for when we drop that fire content. Also, hello, Gulf Coast Sports and Entertainment Network. Glad you have found us here. And if you're watching us leading into the Pelicans game tonight, hello. It's your first time seeing us here. Hello. Glad you found us here on the Gulf Coast Sports and Entertainment Network. And I'm happy that basketball season is here because it's going to bring more viewers to this network and will hopefully bring more viewers to this, what I consider, wonderful podcast we call the Fox 8 Overtime Podcast. All right, enough with the preambles. I'm talking too much. Andre, it's Friday in the city, busy day to day, beautiful weather outside. NBA, World Series starts tonight, prep football, college football, NFL football. It's that time of year, folks. It's the best time of year. It is October. In the calendar, and it's a great time. We're going to talk Saints Bucks because that's what we do here. But first things first, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good. You know, Friday, like you mentioned, there's no shortage of things for us to do at this time of the year. I'm excited to see the Pelicans later tonight. You know, boy, Wemby dropped 40 on Dallas, and it was one of the most impressive 40-point games I've ever seen. Interested to see what the Pelicans got for that. But hey, we are here to talk about the Saints. The Saints coming off a loss last week, and it really was probably one of their worst losses of the season. It was one of Spencer Rattler's worst performances of his young career. So now we look towards Tampa Bay, a team that Spencer was able to play twice last year. Looking into this next game, back in the Superdome at home, can Spencer Rattler bounce back against the Bucks after that 4-turnover experience we saw last week?
Yeah, there's a couple different ways you can answer that question. You know, look, I said it all week. I was less concerned about the 3-interception effort than I was about, okay, well, what's the opposite of that for him? What does his good effort look like? And it's very hard to. It's very rare for a quarterback of any competency to have 4 turnovers in back-to-back games. Now, if that does happen, then that warrants a drastic measure taken by the coaching staff, which may or may not be coming at any point this season. But we've talked about that a lot. But back to the question: can he bounce back against Tampa Bay? Yes, he can, because frankly, I think Kellen Moore is going to force him to. Because what I mean by that is I think Kellen Moore is going to call a game in such a way to where he is not going to be exposed to even have the opportunity to put himself in a position to, you know, throw interceptions or play bad football like they did for the first half of that game, bad offensive football, and he was kind of the catalyst for that. I think Moore will intentionally rein him in. You mentioned something that this is not the first time he's faced a Todd Bowles-led defense. In fact, this is the third time. This is the opponent he's played more than anybody, Spencer Rattler. His NFL debut came up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and if you recall, that was a good second quarter of that game. They were up at halftime, and then it pulled away from a couple of interesting decisions by Baker Mayfield. I think it was a punt return involved in there. And, you know, that's what you do when you're helping a rookie quarterback in his first start out. You make plays in other areas, and he was able to take advantage to a point, but much like a lot of his starts last year, he kind of fizzled out in the second half. From that point, I think we can, honestly say, despite what y'all think of us and our opinion of Rattler, I think we will both very honestly say he has certainly improved from that game. He has certainly grown from that game. He handles the blitz better. I mean, that's probably the most tangible thing that I've seen from him from that game to this game. But it should also be noted he threw 3 interceptions in that game. So 3 in 2 games last year, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. All that to say, he'll be much more prepared. He'll be ready. I just don't think Kellen Moore is going to let him get ahead of himself the way I think he allowed him to get a little ahead of himself last week. Rattler even admitted last week that he was a little too aggressive. He can't be that aggressive at times. And then when he was pressed a couple times as to why, he kind of had, I don't know if you saw it, but he had this little grin on his face. We all know why. It's because he was playing Caleb Williams. And I don't know if maybe, Kellen Moore wanted him to harness that energy, didn't want to stand in the way of that, that fuel, that motivation. He will not have that this week He will have a very well-respected Todd Bowles team, very well-respected Tampa Bay team coming to town, and he knows firsthand what he can't do against them because he did it last year and it cost him. If you recall, the season finale in Tampa Bay, it was almost the same script. Really good first half, fizzled out in the second half. So I think he's a little more prepared in that way, and I just don't think Kellen Moore is going to allow him to be in a position to make those kinds of mistakes again from week one or from last week to this week. So he will play better. Will he bounce back? Well, the question is not will he bounce back. I think he will in the sense that he's not going to be as bad as last week in terms of turnovers. The question for me, and it's really been the question for me all season, is what does that bounce back look like? Okay? Because we saw his worst, and as I've said, I haven't killed him for the worst performance. I've been much more concerned about his best performance because 3 interception games are going to happen, 4 turnover games are going to happen. But what are you contrasting that with the good that you are getting? To me, that's where the discrepancy lies. So that's why when we say bounce back, yeah, he will play better. But what does that look like? Is that going to be another game where he is not the reason they lose, but they end up with 17 points or 18 points, and it's clear that they just can't finish drives, and they're moving very methodical, and they're doing the baby steps. Because, when he tried to be aggressive last week, look what happened. So now are they going to pull back a little bit and do the, bit by bit type of approach and hope you can just wear them down or get in position to make plays towards the end? That formula has not worked, but neither has the be aggressive formula worked. That has not worked either. The only formula that's worked is when the defense gets 5 takeaways.
Yeah, hey.
So that's really what it boils down to.
100% when the defense gets 5 takeaways.
So to me, that is really where it's at. And it's another one of those type of efforts where we walk off, and you're starting to see it from the comments that we get. You're starting to see it from just the conversations that I get. They're getting a little exhausted with he's not the main reason why they lost. He's still got his supporters, no doubt about that, but I think that's starting to wear a little thin. There's also this. I think he's going to play better because I think the Saints in general this season have been better at home. They have not been good on the road. You look at the Seattle game, horrible. Look at the Chicago game, not good. Buffalo game, I guess they hung tight, but I was there. They were going to lose that game. So I think they're going to play better because they're at home. It is an NFC South matchup. I think Rattler has learned from his mistakes a year ago and also a week ago. But I'm much more in line with, I don't care that he plays better. I care that he plays good enough to be a reason they win this game, which is going to be very difficult, even if he does have a good game. So, all in all, does he bounce back? Yeah, but I don't know if it's going to be an overly impressive bounce back.
That's what it comes down to. Can he bounce back? I mean, he doesn't have much of a choice. You can't go much lower than what you were last Sunday in a 4-turnover effort, So when I look at this game, I think he'll bounce back because at that point, there's only one way to go, and that's up. But I also say he has to because you have to look at the spot that he's in. Rat Pack, take a breath, This is not slander. This is not Spencer Rattler hate, but you have to illustrate the spot that he's in. Spencer Rattler, as he sits here today, 1-12 as a starter, the 5th worst career quarterback win percentage since 1970. That's 55 years of football with quarterbacks with a minimum of 10 starts. So 55 years of football, he has the 5th worst career quarterback win percentage over that time. He doesn't have many chances left. That's the reality of Spencer Rattler's situation. He has to show flashes, and he hasn't shown enough consistent flashes. And you mentioned the comments. And it's been said to me a lot recently, and it's a cop-out, and I want to break that down right now.
Let's do it. Peyton
Manning went 3-13 as a rookie. You see it in our comments. I hear it at the car dealership. I hear it at the bowling alley. Every Rat Pack member says, hey, you got to have patience with the kid. Peyton Manning went 3-13 as a rookie, and look what he wound up becoming. Not everybody is Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning, as a rookie, 29 turnovers, but he threw 26 touchdowns through 16 games. Through 14 games, almost a season's worth of experience, Spencer Rattler has 12 touchdowns to 13 turnovers. It's not the same as 26 touchdowns. You see 26 touchdowns, 29 turnovers, you say, all right, he made a lot of mistakes, but there's something there. Spencer Rattler's career high passing yardage over those 14 games that he's played, 13 starts, 243. In his first game of his career, ironically, against Tampa Bay. Yeah. Peyton Manning did that 6 times in his rookie year, 4 of those surpassing 300 yards. Spencer Rattler has 2 games out of 14 where he has scored multiple touchdowns. Peyton Manning, his rookie year, had 7 of those games. I mean, at this point, there's a difference between, you can't just use that as the cop-out as Peyton Manning went 3-13, Troy Aikman, yada, 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 because they seem to be the poster boys for.
It's a false equivalency. They're number 1 overall picks. This is a 5th round pick. There's 2 totally different circumstances.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they seem to be the poster boys of, hey, our rookie quarterback struggling, but Peyton Manning did that. I don't care what Peyton Manning did, because for every 1 Peyton Manning, there's about 50 Deshaun Kaisers and Josh Rosens and quarterbacks that we're not even going to remember because they came in, they got a chance, and they didn't make the most of it. So right now, Spencer Rattler, as long as Kellen Moore keeps strutting him out there as starting quarterback, he has a chance. So he has to bounce back, because when you look at the spot that he's in rare air. You know, when it comes to his record, when you look at the numbers, almost every metric is below average. Spencer Rattler, if he wants to continue starting in this league, if he wants to continue starting for the New Orleans Saints, he has to win games. He has to play well. He has to score multiple touchdowns in a game. You're not asking that much. I mean, you got rookies that are doing that. Yeah. You got quarterbacks less talented than Spencer Rattler that are doing that. You got backups that are coming in and doing that. We saw Joe Flacco hop off the couch one year and win comeback player of the year. Right. He got benched, went to Cincinnati, started the next week, and he just took down the Steelers in an offensive showcase. Do you see a world where Spencer Rattler scores 30, 40 points?
No, and that's when I say when a quarterback has a great game but their team loses, Aaron Rodgers in that game is what I'm talking about. He threw for what, like 330, 4 touchdowns. Like, that's what I mean when I say, well, he wasn't okay. Well, that you can play that card if you throw for 300, 320 and he 4 touchdowns and it was just a shootout and they had the ball last. But I've never understood that argument. Oh, well, he's not the main reason why they lose, but they're not scoring any points.
Exactly.
They're not scoring points.
You're one of the worst scoring offenses in the league. When it comes to every passing metric, you're below average. I mean, that's been the Spencer Rattler experience so far. So to sum all that up, do I think he'll bounce back? Yes, but bouncing back can't be 185 yards, no touchdowns, 213, 1 touchdown, you know. Bouncing back has to be him stepping up in the dome and saying, because a lot of people, including the 2 of us, are wondering why Kellen Moore hasn't made that shift to Tyler Shuck yet. A bounce back would be him stepping into that dome and saying, this is why I'm here. This is why Tyler Shuck is still warming the bench. This is a 273, 3-touchdown type performance, you know?
Yeah.
A commanding win, a 4-quarter game that makes you say, wow, I'm glad we had Spencer Rattler today,
right.
One that we have not seen yet from him. So that would be a bounce back from Spencer Rattler. I'd love to see it, but we haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, and the question would be, okay, like, as much as I'm pretty confident saying he's not going to have 4 turnovers this game, he could. The question would be, if he matches what has been the typical Spencer Rattler game this year. Like you said, some good things, but never quite making enough plays, even despite not playing bad, not making enough plays to get your team over the hump. A lot of things have to be perfect for it to be, you know, a lot of fortunate circumstances have to happen, like 5 takeaways in a game by your defense. The question is, then pivots to, and it'll be a topic all week, I'm sure, how many more of the opportunities does he have left after that? Because what ends up happening is if you have a game like that and it's back to the square one, well, then what do you do with your coaching staff? Because he opened the door last week for the benching.
He did.
But if he comes back and has a okay game, then what do you do? And it gets to the point where you're like, okay, how long do you keep listening to the same song? At some point, you got to change stations here and try something else. So, but on the flip side, if he does have another multi-turnover game, is that it? Do they pull the plug? Knowing you got to go to LA next week, which I am less concerned about the opponent. I know a lot of people, wait for the perfect opponent for Tyler Shuck. I'm less concerned with that. I'm much more concerned with him getting just starts. Yeah. I don't care who the opponent is because I want to see what you have in Tyler Shuck. But I think it's all these situations. It's been there all year. I think Monday was the first time Kellen Moore said something like week to week. But outside of that, I have not felt a single bit of urgency in terms of Shuck's ready, Shuck's the guy, or we might turn to Shuck. I haven't heard that from anyone. So take that for what it's worth. Maybe we're all just misreading the situation. Maybe it's Rattler the whole season. I don't know. But I do know Rattler's going to get at least one more game. And not only do I think he's going to bounce back, I think like you said, he has to, because frankly his career is riding on it. Look, like we said last week, no one can say Rattler did not get a fair opportunity. I mean, he's had more of an opportunity than most fifth-round picks get, especially when you consider he jumped a guy ahead of him last year, and then he was the opening day starter this year after not winning a game last year. So at some point, you got to be the guy that gets your team over the hump with your play, with what you can control, and all these other factors. They're just that, other factors. You gotta win or offset that with your play. So that's where it's at. Can he bounce back? I think we both think he will. I'm just very curious what that bounce back looks like.
Absolutely. And on the other side, when you look at Tampa Bay and their quarterback, Baker Mayfield, a guy who had a bit of an off week last week, but is still very much in the MVP conversation so far this season, considering the injuries that they've dealt with from his receiving core and the way that he's still been winning games and the level that he's been playing at. Baker had some comments on the New Orleans Saints. He said on a podcast over the summer that he did not like the Saints. So they asked him about it earlier this week in the press conference, and this is what he had to say about your New Orleans Saints.
It hasn't exactly been clean play from their part when we play them. It's a physical game. I mean, it is what it is. You expect it, division rival. Not much else to say besides the fact that I don't like them.
Well, there it is. Baker Mayfield, he says the Saints don't always play the cleanest football. He doesn't like the Saints, and if we're being honest, Sean, he shouldn't. It's a divisional rival. Yeah. How many people like their divisional rivals? I mean, that's what makes a rivalry a rivalry. There is some level of competitive disdain. It seems like Baker Mayfield for sure has that, but when you look at the Saints side, do you expect that to be a bit of motivation on Sunday?
Well, I talked to Deuce this week, and I said, well, when you were playing, what was that like? He goes, I'd probably joke about it in public, but behind closed doors, we know. We know. We're going to play through the whistle. You're going to know I'm here. That's why I wanted to – I didn't get a chance to talk to Cam Jordan this week, because I think he would have had a great response to that. He may have talked at some point. I wasn't able to be in the locker room to get it. But, because Cam would do kind of the playful stuff like that, but you usually save that for Atlanta. But it doesn't shock me that Baker feels this way. And I think right now, if the Saints were 5-2 and they were 5-2 going in this game, he probably would temper that a little bit. But I think he also sees this is a wounded team. Yeah. This is a chance for him to maybe stick the needle in a little bit, just be like, not only are we better than you, I'm going to tell you I don't like you, and then on Sunday I'm going to come and I'm going to beat you, dominate you in front of your home fans. So if you're the Saints, man, look, nothing else has really worked. Use that as motivation. When you get to him, make sure he feels it. Don't be dirty, because he's already kind of accused you of being dirty, which is a little bit of a preemptive strike, just in case there's a hard hit somewhere. Maybe you can get that fortunate flag. But if you're the Saints, to me, like you can't. There's some pride here, and you can't take this line down. If you do, that's a bad look for you. So to me, there's got to be. I want to see some pushing and shoving after a whistle. I want to see some yapping back and forth in Baker's face mask. I want to see it. He's going to do this, and he's going to do the flexing and all that stuff. But if you're the Saints, you got to swing back. If he's an alpha, you got to out-alpha him. You got to be that same. You got to have that same level of competitiveness and that fire. I know everybody downplayed it, and they can't really say much. They're 1-6. It's a little bit. It's taking a shot at a team that you know is down. You kind of kicking a man when they're down, but take it out on the field. And I want to see it on the field Sunday.
Yeah, I don't care if you're 1-6, 1-16. I don't care if you're 1-600. You can't let somebody come into your house and punk you. Baker Mayfield, he's firing some opening shots, bulletin board material. And I don't think Baker Mayfield would say that, like you said, if the Saints were 5-2. If he was playing Patrick Mahomes in that Chiefs defense, you think he would give them bulletin board material? If he was playing the Lions, you think he'd give them bulletin board material?
Especially last week.
Exactly. The Eagles and the way that defense can get after you. We saw it in the Super Bowl what they did against Kansas City, I don't think he'd be giving them bulletin board material. But the lowly 1-6 Saints, now, yeah, he has no problem, taking shots at the Saints. But, I mean, should it motivate them? Honestly, it shouldn't have to. The fact that you're 1-6 should motivate you. The fact that we just went through what this meant for Spencer Rattler, and why he would want to win. They're calling Alvin Kamara washed. A lot of people saying they should trade Chris Olave. They're saying Jawan Johnson has butterfingers. They're saying the offensive line can't operate without Eric McCoy, who's now out for the season with a bicep injury. They're saying the defensive line isn't getting consistent enough pressure. They're saying DeMario Davis is getting old. They're saying there's a lot of youth in the secondary. There's some potential there, but they give up big plays too. Everybody should have their own motivation already. Everybody should already have something to prove coming into a big divisional game like Tampa Bay. To Baker's credit, just as much as he also said he dislikes the Saints, he did give them credit. He spoke to their talent, especially the veterans on that team, and how this defense is, giving him a unique challenge as well. So he did speak to their talent. He also says he doesn't like them. And like I said, he shouldn't like them. How many people like their divisional rivals that they got to play twice a year, So
Yeah, I was thinking about this. Outside of Atlanta, are they the biggest rival?
it would have to be either them or Carolina, and Carolina's been down for almost a decade.
I don't know if you feel the same fire for Carolina.
Back when you had Brady and Breeze, they were really back
I would
and
say,
forth.
I was talking to Deuce about this too. I said maybe this is not in the conference, and it's not on their part, but on the Saints' part. Saints fans don't like the Cowboys.
The Rams, for
obvious sure.
reasons.
But I think outside of Atlanta, this might be the next one, or maybe tied with the Cowboys in terms of the Saints' biggest rival. And obviously they play them twice a year. So we'll see how it goes. One thing the Saints will have outside of McCoy and Kendre Miller is health. I'm going to go ahead and read this practice report or this injury report out. And legit, Kellen Moore's like, yeah, health, we're all good. Everybody's available outside of the IR guys. So Olave, Young, Juwan, Alvin, Devon Godshaw, all fully participated except for Alvin. He was limited. It's probably more of a just kind of a pacing thing for him throughout the week. The Bucs had an interesting injury report all week. They had 11 guys that didn't practice Wednesday. Now Wednesday they played Monday, so a lot of teams do on that Wednesday. They'll do a walkthrough, so it's an estimated. So if they had a full practice, would this person have practiced? And 11 guys would not have practiced. But of those 11, by Thursday, 7 of them were back. Only 4 were not. So I'll read the final injury report. Godwin's out as we knew. Bucky Irving's out as we knew. Luke Haggard is out. And Vita Vea is questionable. That's huge. Hassan Reddick is out. Vita Vea, remember, if he can go, they'll have a backup center in at Luke Fortner. So who I like, but that's still Vita Vea. And he has feasted on the Saints over the years. So the health department, Saints have the nod. The rest department, Saints have the nod. Saints are coming off of a regular week. The Bucs are traveling. They traveled to Detroit, traveled back home. Now they got to travel again on a short week. Now it's a 3 o'clock kickoff, so maybe a couple extra hours there. But for all intents and purposes, Andre, you're better rested, you're more healthy, and you're at home. So those chance factors that you can't always control, well, it's in the Saints' favor this week. So I guess I'm setting myself up to say, or setting it up to say, I don't want to hear the same line anymore. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear the same line there if they don't come through, or if Rattler doesn't necessarily play well enough, or they don't win the game. Or I don't want to hear all these other excuses. I just want to see them play well and win the game. Obviously, I know it's going to be a game that's going to be difficult, and Tampa's a very good team. They're better than the Saints, but show some pride. I'm trying to get a victory on Sunday.
Yeah, the Tampa they're missing a lot. So there really is no excuse. I mean, Mike Evans, a guy who's consistently,
Mike Evans is out, right? Yeah.
Consistently been one of the best receivers in football. You could argue a future Hall of Famer with his consistency.
Oh, he is. There's no argument. He's going to be
one of the best wide receivers of his generation. He's out. Chris Godwin, one of the best slot guys, number 2 options in the league. He's out. So you've got a rookie in Emeka Egbuka. You got a rookie in Tez Johnson. You got Sterling Shepard that'll be out there. Jalen McMillan, by the way, another rookie from last year. He's a second-year player now who played well last year. He's been out all year. So Tampa's missing 3 of their top 4 receivers. Tampa's missing arguably their best defensive player.
Yeah.
3 of your best wide receivers not playing for Tampa. Their best defensive player.
And a running back.
Yeah, and a running back who's become one of the top 10 backs in the league in Bucky Irving. This is a high-powered Tampa offense when healthy, but a lot of those weapons that make them high-powered will not be playing on Sunday. One of the things that makes their defense so scary is Vita Vea in the middle. Like you mentioned, potentially, if he plays against a backup center, you know? So all of those things go in the Saints' favor when it comes to health. Obviously, you're missing Eric McCoy. You're missing Kendre Miller, who at the end of the day is your backup running back, even though he had been playing well. He's a backup running back. Outside of that, you're missing Eric McCoy. You got your quarterback, all your receivers. You got your starting running back, all your tight ends, whatever you call Taysom Hill, 4 offensive linemen, your entire defense. You're good. You know, you're at home. They're on a short week. You're rested.
Yeah.
You have something to prove. You're coming off an embarrassing loss.
I don't want to hear anything. Oh, he didn't play well. Oh, he didn't do this. Oh, he didn't do that. Go win the game. Go win the game and have some pride in doing so. It's going to be difficult because Tampa's that good. But, you know, you look at Tampa, they've mastered the art of winning close games. Obviously, it caught up to them last week. They lost to Detroit. But if you look at their rankings, they're not, other than the fact that they sack the quarterback a lot. Yeah. I think they're, 5th in the NFL with 20 sacks. Their stats wouldn't necessarily, if you just looked at them, scream top record in the NFC. So, you know, my point is they let you hang around. So if you're the Saints, you got to take advantage. Speaking of hanging around, we only got about 20 more seconds left. LSU A&M, what you think?
I hate to say it, but it's going to be an ugly, rainy game. LSU's offense hasn't been able to get it going in the sunlight. So, yeah, I say A&M probably wins that game.
No faith. I'm going LSU. I think they bounce back. I think they bounce back and save their season. All right, we got to get out of here. Andre Johnson Jr., Sean Fazende. We'll catch you guys next time on Overtime.